All right, hey people. It's about almost 6:30 in the morning, in Indiana. It's the morning after the election, and I just um, I just got off work. Um, so I'm looking a little scruffy because I've also been working. I've already put in 38 and a half hours this week. I'm pretty tired actually right now, but I just know I'm not going to be able to do a video later because I got small children um, and plus I also got work tomorrow. Just got 2 more days of work still, but anyway, I'm listening to people report on the election and things like that, and I gotta say, it's it's really troubling to me that I know people who are pretty awake and they're reporting on Trump. And when I say like reporting on Trump, I mean like I should say promoting Trump and like looking at it like they're actually getting kind of excited and they look like they're invested into the election. And I'm very bothered by this because it's like I feel like people that are like trying to talk people into voting Trump, when they do this, they're never saying like, "Oh, Trump put in Kavanaugh, Trump put in Barr. These guys are deep state." Um, and this stuff is and this stuff's bothering me. Like it's almost like the I can understand the first time Trump ran, because he never been in office. He was saying a lot of the right things. So I could see how you were excited about him. Like he said, let's build a wall and I'm going to get rid of the deep state and I'm going to investigate 9/11 and there's like a lot of things he said and I could understand he never been in office. Granted, he might have had some things questionable in his past, but you could at least sell yourself on the fact that hey, he's never been in office, so he's never done anything bad while he's in office. Okay, and that's kind of why I voted for him because he didn't seem like he was going to start another war, and I was really worried if Hillary got in, she would start another war. And but this second time around to be so supportive of Trump, it's very disturbing to me. And I think you're setting a lot of people up to get sucker punched by promoting Trump in this way. And I gotta say, man, whenever I hear people like get kind of like giddy as they're watching the election results and they see Trump is a little ahead or Trump won this state and they're excited, I feel sickened. I mean, I know there's like a little part of me that like if I saw Joe Biden win, I'd probably be like, wow, this is bad. But I gotta like, but I know some of this is like brainwashing because it's like I saw what Trump did. Trump signed a $6 trillion check for Corona. Trump is still got us all on lockdown. Like, I mean, do people realize like wearing a mask is not normal? Spending $6 trillion on the flu is not normal. So it's like I want a regular life. He never had to give this emergency order. And guess what? He could also end it any day. Any day he can end it, and he won't end it. So why should I vote for you this time? And why are you voting for him? He could have ended this. I could, here my whole thing is after a couple of weeks, this lockdown was only supposed to go a couple of weeks. And after a couple of weeks, he never lifted the lockdown. He never lifted the national emergency. And I don't get this, and it's like you still vote for him, but yet he still got our whole nation locked down. This isn't just the governor's fault. And everyone keeps saying Democrat governors. You know what? My state's still locked down. I can't even go take my kids any place. And we got one of the least locked down states, Indiana. And guess what? I can't take my kids anywhere because you got to wear a mask in every place. And I'm gonna and like I don't know. Trump created a mess, you know? And it's like I'm not saying vote for Biden, but I'm also saying like don't get happy like Trump didn't put us in this mess. And it's like I don't understand this. And I also see a lot of bad things being set up. Like I like people who are awake should know spiritually that there's something going wrong. Okay, like the Bible, Bible prophecy, about like this whole world needing to have a that's going to have a mark, where you can and you can't buy or sell without it. And we really can see the writing on the wall with this whole COVID vaccine thing and who ushered it in, who started it, who kicked it off, who signed the national emergency, right? Okay, I'm doing a live cast, everybody. So I'm gonna go ahead and read some comments as they come in. Let's see here. I voted for stated policies and platform. I had issues with Trump's 2 years at Jesuit Fordham University. Protestant Trump put Jesuits on SCOTUS. Bill Barr was another a WTF moment. Knowing about him, yeah. I mean, how do you not need, like, he had to know, like I'm getting like frustrated almost to the point where I wanted to rewind a couple of my friends' videos and like play their video and just like go off on this, because I'm like, how in the world are you making excuses for this guy? Like Trump's doing the best he can fighting the deep state. Like like some of these people almost sound like my old like old grandparents or something, man. Or how they get in that little mentality. And I don't even want to insult old grandparents, because I don't even know old grandparents that don't even think like that. But it's like like where it's like that kind of like old grandparent disillusion thing. Like they don't get reality. They're kind of going senile. And they're I don't know what it is, man. But it's like, dude, this is not reality. I still don't know if the virus was created or what. All I know is the virus isn't as deadly as they're saying it is, or like there's cures for it. I mean, that's another part of my problem with this is, what's there. Okay, I'm a guy that works 65 hours a week. Like, I don't get to read studies. I don't have advisors. I don't have medical doctors I can go to. I don't have people I can ask questions, go research things for me. Trump's got all this. Okay, here I am. I still managed to read at least over 100 medical journals and research articles and things like that throughout this whole period of time. Through that course of my reading, I have stumbled across a survey. A couple of medical studies. One was like this Dr. Zelenko, and Dr. Mobeen brought this up on one of her shows, where Dr. Zelenko had these high risk patients, and they were all in their, almost all of them were in their 60s, and some even had comorbidities. So he does this thing where as soon as he detects COVID, he was giving them hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and azithromycin. Okay. And he gives this early on. And I believe it was like 0 deaths or almost 0 deaths out of 144 patients. And this was all high risk. And they did a lot better compared to other doctors that were treating young people, old people. Like he was like out. His treatments was outdoing these other doctors that had even lower risk patients. So, and part of my problem is I'm trying to I find out about this stuff. I'm even submitting it to my health department. Like I said, I submitted this to Indiana Health Department, and Indiana Health Department just blows me off. Like, they won't respond to me or nothing, and I'm gonna get aggressive with them at some point. Like I said, I've been working about, like, I almost put in 40 hours in 3 days. So at some point when my schedule slows down a little bit, I want to go up to that Indiana Health Department and confront them, since they won't answer me email or online at all. So I'm just going to have to knock on the door, I guess. But anyway, Trump could also be talking about this in public, and I don't hear him talking about this in public, and I'm just getting real frustrated. So I'm going to stop and read some of the messages going on. What criteria do you have for not wearing a mask? Here in Denmark, you can escape if you have asthma or strungulon feelings or claustrophobia. Claustrophobia, I guess is what you say. It is possible not to wear a mask. Yeah, it's kind of like that here. I mean, in Indiana, you can, like, some people take one of those asthma inhalers and they just kind of wave it and they don't say a thing. Like, they'll walk into a store, someone gives them a look, they'll just wave that asthma inhaler and just keep on walking by. um, I guess for me, I just said HIPAA. Like, if they ask me, like, this one lady, she got real aggressive. This lady that worked at a grocery store, and I was just like, HIPAA, ADA, and I wasn't gonna say another word because I'm like really tired of, like, I'm not gonna explain anything. And by HIPAA and ADA, you're not required to disclose one reason. You can just say HIPAA or ADA, and that's it. They cannot ask you. They're not supposed to ask you. They're not supposed to discriminate against you, especially under the Americans Disabilities Act. That's what ADA is. HIPAA, I don't even remember what those initials stand for. I'm kind of a little tired, but I know ADA. I just say either ADA or HIPAA, and just keep walking through the store and buy what I need. And I haven't been kicked out of anywhere yet doing that. So let's see here. I'm not voting for the person. I refuse to give my consent to the socialist communist alternative. Well, I mean, to me, Trump is doing a pretty good job of socialism himself. I mean, he's going to usher it in. All these things he's doing to destroy businesses. I mean, that's certainly not capitalism. Like declaring a national emergency, having everything get locked down, and all he's got to do is end the national emergency, which he hasn't done. So, and also, one thing, when you're running an election and you don't debate anyone, you just debate. You're just like, here, this is the opponent that you're gonna see me debate. I'm not gonna acknowledge anyone else. No one else is gonna get publicity. This is your government the government is handing this debate to you. This is all you get to choose from, because they cut out the media. And guess what? As president and Donald Trump agreeing to these debates like that, he agreed to socialism. Like, capitalism is like everyone, like a free market capitalism. So that means, hey, guess what? Everyone should have got a fair share, a fair hand in that debate. All these third-party candidates, they should have been able to debate Trump and Biden. And guess what? If Biden didn't want to do it because Biden's like, well, I'm too good to do it. Well, guess what, Trump will just debate the third party, and we'll pretend like the Democrat Party doesn't exist, which even a lot of Democrat voters would be like, good. But see, you're supposed to be the Republican president, like Republican leader too. And it's like, and guess what? Republicans are supposed to be for free market capitalism, but you did not do that, did you? So that's kind of my opinion. You kind of promoted socialism and dictatorship by going along with, hey, we're just going to give you two choices. And then when I see Trump do things like, well, I did, nominate all the people that let Clinton and everybody else get away with crimes like Barr and Kavanaugh, helped Clinton get away with the murder, the Vince Foster investigation, sabotaging the Vince Foster investigation. Because see, if Hillary would have nominated Kavanaugh and Barr, I would be like, wow, she's rewarding them for 1992, when Barr, covered up the drug smuggling with Bill Clinton and Bush that was going down in Mena, Arkansas. Then if I would have said that, and like, let's say Hillary would have got nominated and I would have said that, all these Republicans that are like hating me for talking bad about Trump, they'll be like, "You're right. I remember that," and or I looked it up, and you're right. Instead, with Trump, it's like I got friends that I mention that to, and they're like, they keep promoting Trump, and it's like for some reason, like there's something in their brain where it's like, but I'm not going to look that up. I don't want to know that. I know they still haven't looked it up. These are people that are normally pretty awake. I even talked to them about the Jesuits and Vatican. They agree with me. They know about all that stuff. And I go, well, hey, but they're like Trump supporters. And I go, well, how do you justify him nominating Barr and Kavanaugh? And then I kind of explain a little bit about Mina and the Vince Foster investigation. And I've said it a couple of times to them. They still haven't looked it up. I think I even sent them links to articles. They still haven't looked it up. I just like wonder what's going on in mine. And then later on, I'll hear them talking, and they'll be like, yeah, Trump's doing the best he can fighting the deep state. We got to keep supporting him. I mean, hey, Chris, man, look, it can be so overwhelming being a president. He's got all these things on his plate, and I think he's doing the best he can. And it's like, get out of here with that, please. Get out of here, man. So I'm going to kind of read a few more comments. Let's see here. Trump was the guest of George H.W. Bush at the 1988 RNC convention, and in his Larry King interview while there, he said a known eugenicist and publisher was a great guy, perhaps just flattering, but still. Read your other comment. Trump is a hard guy to read. He may have walked in between the proverbial deep state raindrops and not been touched by any while greasing their palms for building permits and other businesses. Merrick Garland's nomination was a Clinton reward for Oklahoma City bombing cover-up. Yeah, probably. So, someone says, I printed the law and laminated it, so when people tells me I have to wear a mask, I show them that people with bad lungs don't have to. I show them the law, and they always say, oh, okay. Yeah, one thing I thought about, there's this one guy listening. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name, so if he stumbles on my channel, I'm sorry. I'm just spacing the name right now. But anyway, he mentioned that he carries around like a folder, and I was like, man, that would be a good idea if you also put like the laws and regulations in it, like OSHA codes and HIPAA law, ADA law, and just kind of carry that all around and been like, just hold my folder and see if they want to go through like the whole thing, and if they ask me for an excuse. But yeah, I'm just like, I feel like really what we should be doing with this election, instead of like promoting Trump. And I mean, someone, you share your thoughts with me if you think I'm wrong, but I really think the more healthier thing to do this election would have been, with Trump and Biden, is like, me personally, vote third party, and then point out, like, because I feel like the whole Trump presidency has exposed what a complete sham and fraud the election is. Like when he, let me just play one clip. There's one clip I want to play because it really sums it up. Let's see here. I'll go ahead and share it to the screen. Man, it's just, some of you probably already seen it, but I still want to just.
I will say this. Hillary Clinton has to go to jail, okay? She has to go to jail. I think she should be in jail for what she did with her emails, okay?
And I'll tell you what, I didn't think I'd say this, but I'm going to say it. But if I win, I am going to instruct my Attorney General to get a special prosecutor to look into your situation, because there has never been so many lies, so much deception. There has never been anything like it. And we're going to have a special prosecutor because you know what? People have been, their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5 of what you've done. And it's a disgrace. And honestly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Introduce to you the President-elect of the United States of America, Donald Trump.
Here he is, presenting American political history.
Thank you very much. I've just received a call from Secretary Clinton. She congratulated us, it's about us, on our victory. And I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard. Hillary has worked very long and very hard over a long period of time, and we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. I mean that very sincerely. Their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5 of what you've done, and it's a disgrace. And honestly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. And we owe her a major debt of gratitude for her service to our country. That plays great before the elections. Now we don't. Autism has become
But anyway, yeah, I just want to play that because it's like you hear that, and then you see him nominate Kavanaugh and Barr and Haspel and all these horrible characters, and it's just like I just don't know how people can hear that and then go make more excuses for him. But I want to read this one comment. Actually, there's two comments because, someone in my audience says, speaking for myself, at worst, I hope perpetuating the illusion is better than the punishment stick after they know you're not taking the carrot anymore. I know, pathetic. But see, that's so honest, at least. I mean, like that kind of, like that I would appreciate. Like if someone's like, well, I'm going to vote Trump. And like, if they told me that, I'd be like, okay, bravo, man. That is awesome. Like, at least you're kind of like admitting what's going on, right? You know, you're being realistic. Like I mean, like I wouldn't mind it if people were being realistic and like, well, I voted Trump but it's like some of what I'm like, but it's just like the people I'm hearing when they're like making videos and they know so much better and they make excuses like that. Like Trump's fighting the deep state, he's doing the best he can. And okay, someone's gonna know exactly what I'm talking about if they watch this, but he goes, you know, what's that verse in the Bible? Don't pull the splinter out of someone else's eye before you pull the log out of your own. And like acting like that's like people like me criticizing Trump. And I'm like, whoa. Now maybe he didn't direct it at me, not saying you were, but like, you know, my whole thing is Trump's got like this $6.2 trillion log in his eye. You know, he's also got all this deep state in his eye, you know, that's affecting the whole nation. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, can you find something that's in my eye that's bigger than that which is in Trump's eye? So I'm like, come on, man. Like, I don't know, man. Just let me know. But I do want to read this one comment. Timothy Price says, my SCOTUS litmus test would be who called out Obama's ineligibility for the correct reason. The birth certificate was a red herring distraction from the British Nationality Act of 1948. And yes, I completely agree. I hate, and that's what Trump bragged about too. You know, you're like, Trump was bragging that, yeah, I got Obama to show his birth certificate. It's like, well, dude, that really wasn't the issue. Can you please make him prove that he's a natural born citizen? And like, cause see, my whole thing has always been, I hated that whole birth certificate argument, just because, you know, Obama never admitted to that. But one thing everybody knew was his dad was from Kenya. So since he admitted his dad's from Kenya, he can't possibly be a natural born citizen, because both parents have to be citizens at the time of your birth. So why don't we attack him on that one? And I feel like when everyone let him be president, well, you know what? He wasn't a legal president. So we had someone else up there ruling our country for 8 years who wasn't a president. You know, and I don't even know. I mean, do we even have America anymore after that? I mean, and people doubled down. They did it twice. And I did always feel like that was the distraction. Like, everyone wanted to focus on that birth certificate and not focus on the real issue. Just like when Kavanaugh was getting nominated to the Senate, everyone kept saying like, "Oh, Christy Blasey Ford, and did he rape her?" And dude, this is something that happened 20 years ago, supposedly. I felt like it was a straw man argument, but it's just really weird that as soon as like people like me, there's actually groups way bigger than me that were bringing up like, hey, you know, didn't he help sabotage the Vince Foster investigation? And doesn't he believe in like? And then they were citing all this like lower circuit court rulings, like saying like government spying's okay and all this other stuff. You know, government spying on U.S. citizens is completely fine. Like, someone had like a list of like 20 things. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm like, wow, yeah, he shouldn't be a Supreme Court nomination. But all I could hear is Christy Blasey Ford. And oh my gosh, he couldn't have possibly raped her. And you hear this argument. And then they're all of a sudden, you know, they make Kavanaugh seem like he's one of the boys. Like, yeah, he just likes to drink beer. And I can relate to that. Guy likes to drink beer, and so do I. You know, it's like, but they drowned it out, and they did the same thing with the birth certificate and Obama. They drowned it out the real argument, which was, is he a natural born citizen? So, let's see here. As the son of a Kenyan British subject, Junior was born a British subject regardless of where he was born. Kamala Harris is ineligible to be a VP, right? That's what I thought too. And someone was like shaking their head at that, and I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure she's not eligible. So thank you for bringing up that Kamala Harris thing. I did do a video from someone. It's kind of a short clip, because I just kind of clipped that one part out, and I just got this guy speaking on someone else's show, and he's a member of the Constitution Party, and he's explaining how Kamala Harris is ineligible to be the vice president. So, and then it's like, you gotta think, man, like Joe Biden might not even make it as president, and then all of a sudden you got Obama Part 2, a female version. It's like, it's insane. And you know what? Trump's not even pointing that out either. So that's kind of like, that's another thing that's upsetting me. It's like, dude, your primary goal, you know, reason for being president is to properly execute the office. Yeah. Okay. I thought this was just funny. It all boils down to us normal people of good nature holding to perhaps foolish hope that people can change. That kind of got me in a chuckle. Gotta say that. See here. Jesuit Jerome Corsi is a wolf in sheep's clothing who kept the focus on that damned birth certificate. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that man, very good, man. That's definitely some good info. Hey, if I ever do I wasn't really planning on doing like a long show, but if any time, Timothy, you seem like you got really good information. If on one of my Friday shows, if you like, I do allow people to like call to like come on the show and things. So if you want to like come on the show and like talk and share information sometime, you're more than free to. You sound like you kind of really know what's up. So just throwing that invite out for you some Friday if you ever want. Like you see me doing a show, you can probably jump on in. Let's see here. Hillary voting Democrat. Philip J. Berg was the first honest attorney who pursued Obama's ineligibility correctly. I never heard of that. That person. I'll have to check that out. I never heard of that. Philip J. Berg. I think I did, but I don't think I've ever read him. So I'm glad you brought him up again. Let's see here. It says Kamala's Jamaican daddy and Indian citizen mom were born British subjects. Okay, thanks, man. I needed some clarification for that because I wasn't quite sure when I was like kind of looking through the bios, man, if that was correct. So okay, so that's some more verification for me. I appreciate that info. Because that's what I think that's what that guy from the Constitution Party said. But when I brought it up to like another friend of mine, man, who I don't know, I thought he was a little bit more well read than me, and then he kind of like gave it like kind of like a very quizzical look, and so I was like, well, am I wrong? Are they? Did I misunderstand something? Are they not? Were they actually American citizens when she was born? But okay, so I appreciate that. Yeah, in fact, she's not even if what you're saying is right, she's not even a U.S. citizen at all. So, because two people from another country, if they come here and give birth, that child's not an American. That anchor baby stuff, that I'll have to go into it sometime when I'm better prepared. But all I know is the anchor baby. There's no such thing. There's no kind of law that can uphold anchor babies. That's always been misinterpreted for the longest time, and that's another thing that really like kind of gets to me. It doesn't even make logical sense. It's like if you, if like I take like some cats, like one of them's pregnant, and then like I bring it to a dog kennel to visit someone, and it has kittens there. Like it's not, they're not dogs. They're still cats. They came from the cat kingdom, and just because I brought them over to like the dog's house, they didn't become puppies there. It's like they have to become naturalized. It's kind of like citizenship's kind of like the same way too. Like you have to become part of that country, part of that nation, part of that breed. And it's like even if it's like adopted into it, like adopted family. It's like okay, maybe like family adoption might even be a better term. Like if like let's say the Schwartz families from Germany, it's like just because they have a baby over at my house, it's like that's not a Schwartz baby. But let's say like I adopt that family, and I'm like, you're a part of my family, and then that baby, if they have a baby, that baby's part of the family. But I mean, they haven't even been adopted into the family yet, so how could they be? So, let's see here. I don't know, maybe that was a bad example. I could probably do better. A little tired. So, anyway, someone says, INFP personality type researcher, not really good at real time recollection for debate or conversation, especially since 2 strokes and 2 heart attacks from blood clots kind of fuzzy the recall time. Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, you got great information, man. I do appreciate you even stopping by the channel and sharing that stuff, though. I don't know, man. Like, I used to box. So sometimes my recollection really isn't there either. And I get intimidated, man. I got friends. They recalled so many details and books and page numbers, and I'm just like, wow. How do you do that? History, like I gotta refresh. I just can't. Like some of the stuff, like I call off from the top of my head. That's because like those few things I have like just used as like bullet points so many times. That's the main reason why I can call it off the top of my head. But so anyway, I just kind of want to get that election stuff off my chest. I just been listening to everyone else's shows all night while I was at work, and I and like I said, I just really feel like the better thing to do would be to help people see this whole illusion for what it is, because I think they're really setting us up for something worse. You know, like I really feel like there is like a mark of the beast coming. Like I think all this is going to end soon. And I think it doesn't do people any good when you tell them like, oh yeah, you know, like, because I feel like some people, when they're talking about voting Trump, that they're trying to treat this election like all the other ones. And it's like, this guy basically pretty much locked down the whole world. Because, you know, if the United States didn't go for this stuff, the rest of the world wouldn't. And to be honest, you know, Trump, you know, is like, you know, patting himself on the back about getting those ventilators out. Well, those ventilators killed a lot of people. I mean, let's be honest, you know, it's like a lot of those ventilators were misused. By declaring a national emergency, make people think this is some super crazy virus. So now you got like these like people that are like, okay, I know some people in New York, and they've been telling me stories about how these doctors were scaring people into getting on the ventilators. Like, hey, like maybe this person didn't really need a ventilator, but I heard what they would do would tell these people, hey man, if you don't get on this thing, you might die. It looks like you're going to die. So and then these people go get sedated, they get on a ventilator, and then what, 80% of them die? It's like they were murdering people. And when I look at the statistics, and this is going by the CDC, New York had one of the highest, well, they had the highest excess death percentage increase in the entire world, you know, compared to like the year before. And if like you were trying to figure out, hey, is there a pandemic going on, a killer virus in this world? And you were to look at the CDC's numbers for America, and I'm like, okay, is there a killer virus going on this year that wasn't going on last year? Well, it would appear, just looking at the death totals and looking at trying to find increases of death compared to last year, geez, I can't find it in 45 states, but 5 of them got a significant increase. And then it's like you look at New York and New Jersey, and it's like it's insanely high. Like I said, like they, like percentage wise, they had the biggest percent increase, more than the entire world. And it's like there's something going on there, and basically those ventilators were killing people. And Trump declared a national emergency. And what do you think that caused? That caused some people to believe the doctor when the doctor says, hey, maybe you should get on this ventilator or you might die. And you're giving that doctor for almost $40,000 to do it. Like, I think it was like $39,000 to put him on a ventilator each time you put him on a ventilator. So you're encouraging the doctor to do this, to commit murder. And you declared a national emergency, which is scaring these people, making them think this is some scary virus that you're locking down the whole country for it, right? And you're getting, so it's like you're encouraging these people to go on a ventilator, and you're encouraging the doctors to talk people into it. And that's on you, Trump. You're a murderer, man. You really are. I mean, you committed mass murder in this entire nation by going along with this thing. And I don't know, like this drives me crazy, and I don't see how people can go, well, it's a deep state. Well, Trump had chances to put in people who weren't deep state. What if he would have put in like some Protestant that was honest, who was an attorney general, and maybe he looks at New York and is like, maybe we should send some prosecutors there or some investigators to investigate it, and maybe if you put the right people in the, FBI department, to head up the FBI, and maybe he goes and looks in there and Federal Bureau of Investigation and see what's going on, and you see that, hey, they're committing murder, by there's murders being committed going on in New York. I don't know. It's like, but Trump doesn't do these things. So it's like, how do you justify it? I mean, the guy's not fighting deep state. So, okay. Someone says we have underneath in Denmark, normal years, we have higher death counts. The people are taking care of dead. The people taking care of dead people complaints equals they're down 20%. So I guess you're saying that your death rate's lower than it was in previous years. You got a killer virus, and your death rate's lower, if I'm understanding you correctly. You know what? I think there was actually a couple of states in America where the death rate was lower. I can't remember how many it was. I think there was definitely a couple of them, but I just can't remember off the top of my head how many actually were lower than the year before. So yeah, killer virus, and you got a lower death rate. Okay, let's see what other people are saying. I lean more strongly toward Walid Shabbat's translation, what the mark of the beast is, the Islamic badge of servitude to Allah, which declares him as God and Muhammad as his prophet. Me personally, I really think it's the Vatican's got a mark. At some point, I really need to do this soon. Again, because I said it in other videos, but some of my videos, man, even 30-minute videos, people might not look at that part of the video, and I've looked at the Sabbath, and there's like Hebrew letters that make up the word Sabbath, and when you break down each letter, I mean, there's like some of those letters translate that Sabbath into sign of God, mark of God, and so, and in the Bible it does say, if you keep the Sabbath, it's a sign that I am the Lord that does sanctify you, and Jesus is the Son of God, and so it's like and he is the Lord, and he does sanctify you. And I think that's his sign. You know, it's like one of his commandments, and it is also like a mark that he's the creator. Like an author, when you finish your work, you know, it's like when it's not really finished and you haven't really completed your work until you said the end, right? And it's kind of like the Sabbath is like when God said the end. So it kind of like the end. This is my completed work. You know, I'm the author. And I just kind of think it's crazy that people do away with the Sabbath when it's a 10 commandment, and just the nonchalant, you know, how people just do it nonchalantly, like, oh, it's just a day. And you know, I'm not going to get too preachy about it on this cast, but I guess my struggle with the way most people just do away with the Sabbath, if they would approach it where it's like, oh yeah, this is why the Jews thought it was such a big deal to break the Sabbath, and it had this sacredness to them, and it was a sanctified day, and it marked the day that, you know, that it was like God's signature, that he's the creator. But, you know, the people that teach that the Sabbath's been done away with, they never approach it from that mindset, like the mind of God, of like why that would be important to them. Now, I mean, I'm open that he might have done away with it. Like maybe I misunderstood something in the New Testament. But my whole thing is, when they approach it to me, it's almost like, oh, that's just a day, and that's just something God was just making the Jews do. And it was kind of like, hey, you know, do 3 jumping jacks this day, you know, and it's like, but, you know, or I'm just not going to have you do work this day. You know, it's like some kind of, like the way they approach me with it, it's almost like it was a silly command, instead of like explain, like they never go into like all the hollowness of it and the sanctity of it and why it was so important. Like they really understood like why God would even get mad and want someone stoned, you know, for breaking it. Like it almost seems like that escapes them. Like, why would that even get God angry? It seems like it just escapes him. So I'm like, well, I really don't even know if you're the right person to listen to when you're talking about the Sabbath was done away with. So but anyway, that's another reason why I kind of point to the Catholic Church, is like like ushering in the mark. And then when I see like Trump appointing nothing but Catholics, and then he shut the whole world down, and he's putting more Catholics on the Supreme Court, and now he's saying, hey, I want to end anti-Catholicism. It's like, dude, why are you talking all this like wanting to end anti-Catholicism for? It's like he never says, I want to end anti-Protestantism, you know. It's like, or I want to end, you know, end something else. Like, it's like you never hear him talking about other people that are oppressed. It's like, let's end Catholic oppression. It's like, geez, they're running the whole country. They're controlling every single office. In fact, you put their what's that one, like the Catholic Information Center? It's the closest one to the White House. Like, because I heard one of the Catholics, Mick Mulvaney, who was like, he was Trump's secretary, chief secretary or something like that. Gosh, can't remember what, but anyway, he was talking about how things are so great for Catholics, and how like they get to have like their Catholic Information Center is the closest one, so if they want to go pray and stuff, they don't have to go that far. It's like, and yet Trump, here he is, and let's end that anti-Catholicism. And I don't know if people know this, but man, I think like I got one of my senators to call bar on me, because it's really weird that like I was complaining to another senator about like Amy Coney Barrett, and how I was just sick and tired of all these Catholics getting on the Supreme Court. And then I was like, I think I might even said, hey man, what do we got to do? Start like burning Guy Fawkes on your lawn or something? It's like, I said, I was like, really, man? It's like, this is like nuts. And next thing I know, I'm reading an article 3 hours later about another senator from here, Jim Banks, calling Barr about anti-Catholicism. So, I don't know. I hope it wasn't me. But, see here. Someone says, in my infantile hope, I want to believe President Trump will go balls out in a second term, as the job cannot be done in one term. Yeah, I know a lot of people actually believe that and or are hoping that. Me personally, okay, I hope that, but I just don't believe at all it's going to happen. You know, I hope Trump gets a conscience and changes. You know, I hope Barr changes. I hope Kavanaugh changes. But I mean, the whole thing is these people did not deserve their jobs that Trump gave them. And the fact that Trump gave them it, I have no hope. I mean, I honestly think Trump's a traitor. I mean, I think he's a traitor for signing that $6 trillion stimulus package. I think that was treason. Like, I mean, seriously, like if I was said, hey man, I'm gonna spend $6 trillion on the flu, or I'm gonna spend $6 trillion on sneezing or something, it's like you guys would be like, hey man, I almost think you need to be beheaded or something. And I mean, how can I argue with you? You know, it's like, yeah, that sounds reckless. Okay, Timothy Price says IMO, Islam is the beast and the Vatican is the whore riding it. Yeah, I don't really think, me personally, I don't think Islam is a beast. I think the Vatican government's the beast in of itself, and I think the Catholic Church is the whore, because the churches are looked upon as like women, and like the faithful church is the bride, and then it's like, well, the one that's, you know, going around committing fornication with everything, that would definitely be the Catholic Church. You know, you can see the Pope kissing the Islamic Bible, doing all these like inviting all these like different religions up on stage to pray with him. He had voodoo priests praying with like Pope John. If you ever look it up, man, there's like this ecumenical. You look up ecumenical world prayer Pope John, and you'll see like him praying with like voodoo priests and all this stuff. Like that is like whoring right there. That is the complete definition of a spiritual whore. You don't get more whorish than that. Like this is like the biggest slut, man, in 2,000 years, you know? So, and just all the things it's done, you know, and it's drunk on the blood of martyrs and saints. And that beast is, to me, is the Vatican itself, which is the government part of Catholicism. So it's like that church is riding that beast, which is government, and that government is kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like a world government all over the kings of the earth. Anyway, let's see. Saturday Sabbath sets Yahweh's followers apart from the sun and moon worshipers, and that I agree 100%. And you know, one thing and I'd like to know if anyone else ever experiences this, where I'll be listening to someone and they'll be real deep, and I'll be like, I wonder if they believe in the Sabbath, man. They seem pretty awake. So I go and ask them, you know, hey man, do you keep the 7th-day Sabbath? They're like, no. So then I like, why not? And then I start typing all these like things, you know, different questions to them. And the next thing you know, it just seems like they just outright just won't like start, you know, like they're really against the Sabbath, and they're like, man, there's just like nothing, man. Like I am like, and I feel like they're starting to even answer some of the questions with bad, horrible arguments, like they're not being intellectually honest. The next thing I know, they go from being like someone that like I thought was like would say all this interesting stuff to like suddenly it's like they seem dumbed down now. You know, it's like they're not the same. And I don't know if anyone else has had that happen or if it's just like a coincidence. Like maybe, I don't know, like I started noticing other things about them once I brought up the Sabbath, but like I just remember a couple of people, man. It's like, man, their shows just like right down, man. Like you're right down the tubes, man. As soon as I started talking about the Sabbath and any kind of depth. Now it's one thing if I barely mention it a couple of times, but like when I go into depth, it's like, man, they're just like they're not the same anymore. And Timothy says ecumenical equals sellout, and that's exactly it. You know, ecumenical equals harlot. You know, it's like you know, the one thing about people, this is one thing I don't understand. In the Bible, Jesus says, narrow is the way, few find it. Okay, so we're looking at all these churches, you know, like a few hundred different denominations, probably thousands of different denominations. And you see this Catholic church with a 1.5 billion followers, or what is it, like 1.7 billion followers or something like that. And most of them go to church on Sunday, right? And it's like, you read that passage, narrow is the way, and few find it. And then you read, Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commandments. And there's all this other stuff about the saints and the commandments and Revelations and keeping the commandments and that really seeming important, you know, to Jesus. And yet, you know, I go back to narrow is the way and few find it. And I see all these like billions of Christians going to church on Sunday, and like this doesn't click to someone else. Like this seems broad. Like it would seem broad if all those people were gonna make it, and narrow. Well, I'm gonna start looking at like what's more unique, you know. And then if I see someone, oh well, here's a church keeping all 10 commandments, huh? That's pretty narrow compared to the rest of the world. Maybe I'll look a little bit deeper into them. But I think the biggest problem, though, is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I mean, I got a lot of Seventh-day Adventist friends, but I really think their church is part of the problem, too, because people don't want to believe in Ellen White. They try to force people to believe in Ellen White. And because you can't go anywhere. Because I was like, well, all right, maybe I'll go to, I can't really find too many other Sabbath-keeping churches, so I guess I'll try to, you know, go to this Seventh-day Adventist church. I mean, if they believe in Ellen White, just as long as, you know, they don't make me believe in it. So I'm like, hey, I'd like to start up this little program, you know, where it seems like there's like a need to have like, you know, a news program where we talk about the Bible and current events. And, oh, Chris, that would be great. Do you believe in Ellen White? No. Well, we're not going to partner with you. We're not going to have anything to do with you. So it's like, so I can't really be part of their church unless I accept their prophet, which is not a prophet to me, because Ellen White would tell you nowadays, hey, don't take quinine, and what's hydroxychloroquine is just like a derivative of quinine in a less toxic form. At least so they say it's less toxic. I'm not like a biochemist, so I wouldn't know exactly. But they say it's a less toxic form, and it's a light. But quinine is a natural substance you get from a tree. Ellen White told one of the people in her ministry not to use quinine. So guess what happens? Their son gets malaria, and they were thinking about using quinine, but they remembered what their prophet told them and was like, well, I don't know, their fever's pretty high, but we're not going to give them quinine. Well, their kid dies. And then Ellen White, you know, talks to him and says, and just tells him, oh, it's not your fault, you know. And it's like, dude, Ellen, you killed him. You killed that kid. Like, that kid did not have to die. There's your prophet. Your prophet kills people. You know, it's like, come on now. It's like I get sick of that. And it's like you can't defend that. You can't, like, yeah, how in the world do you defend that? And you know why? I think why this. You know why I think they go running back to that church and why they got to cling on to it because the Vatican hooked them into there because they said, oh, if you want to be like let me what's that one, the Vatican's got some kind of quote where they're like they'll really kind of give the Seventh-day Adventist like if you wanted to be more like the Bible or something, you'd be like the Seventh-day Adventist because they keep the Sabbath, and they specifically point out the Seventh-day Adventist. And I always wondered, do the Seventh-day Adventists hear that and go, well, the great whore is, you know, saying that these churches would be like us if they were, you know, righteous, you know, since we keep the Sabbath, and they pointed us out. And it's like, I always wondered, did they point you out because that's kind of like controlled opposition, and they want to keep you hooked into there? Because I don't know. I just think that church has done more damage to people rejecting the Sabbath than they have to bring people into it. But, you know, sorry if I offend anyone, but I mean, like, I just think she was a well-read woman. I read a lot of those books from that time period, from the 1800s and 1700s, and that looks to be exactly where she got her information from, was from those same books I read. Because I recognize some of the things she's saying in them, like from James Aiken Wiley and stuff like that. So, or Endershine is another one I think she completely ripped off. But I mean, it's fine if you borrow things. I just don't like when people say, "Oh, she's a prophet. She was so wise." Who else speaks like that? You know who else speaks like that? Someone who reads books. You read those books from that time period. They're pretty good books. Got a lot of good ideas. It looks like she borrowed from all of them, you know. But I mean, but when you're getting a kid killed, you know, who could have got saved with quinine by telling them that's something no one should be taking, and so the kid dies of malaria, and you cause a death for no reason, and you got someone to withhold medical treatment from a kid because their prophet told them not to take it. So, but you guys just keep, you know, clinging on to her and forcing people out of your church who don't want to believe in her, even though it's not a book of the Bible. It's not like I never rejected one thing of the Bible, but you reject Ellen White, and it's like you rejected the Bible to them. So that's just why I can't stand that. I actually can't stand that church. I'll be honest, because like I start to think about that. I start to think about the first thing when I tell people I keep the Sabbath, they start bashing Ellen White, and I'm like, because they don't want to keep the Sabbath, and they just start bashing Ellen White, like Ellen White this. I'm like, dude, I hate Ellen White. But see, now I got to overcome that when I'm talking about the Sabbath to him. So it's like, thanks for making my job harder, you know. But anyway. That was my little rant. I'm done. Sorry, I probably went on too long about that. But anyway, Timothy Price says, when the Israelites separated from Judah over taxes, they changed the Sabbath to Sunday, just like the ancient Assyrian descended Roman Catholic Church changed it without explanation. Okay, I'll have to reread that, man. I was not aware of that. So. Is that in like is that in the Book of Kings? Is that where that would be? Anyway, the Geneva Bible had notations within it that were critical of the Catholic Church, thus rare to find. You know what, man? I tell you what, I read the Geneva Bible, and it actually got me out of some false doctrine, because I started thinking about it. And I was like, man, they're right. And because it's like I think I was reading them, and I kind of came to the conclusion that the Vatican is the second beast and that Rome's the first by reading the Geneva Bible. I know a lot of people think the U.S. is the second beast and the Vatican's the first, but I tend to think the Roman Empire was the first beast. and the Vatican was the second beast that rose out. But I'm you know, like I'm not like telling people I'm 100% right about that. Like a lot of things I review, I even review the Sabbath, you know, every week. You know, I'm like, hey, am I really right about this? But I mean, I think I'm pretty right about it. So anyway, hey, I went an hour long. I think I'm gonna wrap it up, get some sleep. I just had to get that off my chest. Like I just a night of hearing, of trying to, you know, hear good election coverage where people are making good points, and I'm hearing about a bunch of bad, horrible points, and it just emotionally, it just bothered me for some of the people I know to be making videos and just to hear their commentary, and like, man, these people are awake, and I feel like they're kind of slipping back into the delusion of Trump and this election, and I feel like they're helping others to slip into this delusion instead of waking them up. Because I mean, honestly, man, this whole this beast system, it looks like it's about ready to be set up, and the last thing we need to be telling people is, oh yeah, if you vote Trump, everything's going to be okay, and yeah, you know, or having that little smile on your face, oh man, Trump's winning. And like this whole disillusionment that you like, it's like things are not like, they're not going to go back to normal. I mean, like, I'm still going to fight a fight, you know, and do things like complain to my like, I'm still going to complain to like the Indiana Health Department. I'm still going to complain to the school boards. I'm still going to buy like a oxygen detector and stick it up under my mask and ask them, you know, if I send my child to school, why does he have to have his oxygen cut to go to school, you know? Since they dropped the oxygen levels to 17.5 whenever you wear a mask, and OSHA says they got to be 19.5. So I just want an explanation on that one. Like, I'll still fight those fights because I actually believe that, you know, you're supposed to keep trying to do the right thing until this all does end. And by fighting the fight and trying to do the most sensible thing that can make some change, like you're trying to like logically think of the best ways to make change, which would be get involved in primaries, you try to get the right people on, you try to do all this hard work. Granted, maybe it's not going to turn out good, maybe it doesn't look good, but you still, you know, you do your part in civil society, you do your part, and you let those people who don't do their part, you let them get their own selves condemned, but you don't go condemning yourself by not doing nothing and just being like, well, the Bible says it's gonna happen, so I'm just gonna let it happen in my fight. I do know people that say that to me, and then they're like, but man, I gotta go vote for Trump. Well, it's like, dude, whatever happened to just letting it happen? You know, like you made it sound like, oh, it's just gonna happen and you can't do nothing about it. But I don't know, and just hearing like some of the irony of it all. All right. He says, I tried looking it up real quick, but no dice. Essentially, one of the young Israelites continued going to the temple in Jerusalem and observing the Sabbath after Israel split from Judah. See, I faintly guess that would be found in the Book of Kings. I don't know. I'll try looking in the Book of Kings later when I end this. But anyway, I think I'm gonna go call it a day because I don't really know what else I can do. I mean, I would like to have a broadcast this week though, and where you just keep playing those Trump clips of him saying I'm taking the guns away, and they can go to court later, and we'll take the guns away first. Like he doesn't believe in like due process. That's for sure when it comes to your Second Amendment rights. You know, you got a right to have guns. Like you don't need permits. And here Trump talking about taking guns away without even like no due process. And then, you know, that whole Hillary thing, lock her up. That was good before the election, but after, you know, we're past that. It's like, I don't know, man. And I just kind of feel like people are being set up with the same thing. I mean, he lied about that. You know, he conned you over on that. Who says he's not going to con you over about, like, some of you guys think he's not going to do forced vaccines? It's like, he's done lied about so many other things. He's supposed to go after the deep state, didn't do it. So, anyway, that's it from a broadcast. I can already tell I'm getting into the rambling now. So, hey, thanks for stopping by, and Timothy, I appreciate all your good info, man. And all right, man, I'll if my Twitter account's up, I'll add you to it as soon as I get off here. So, if not, man, it might take me a day to add it. But I'm Chris Lucas for us on Twitter. So, in case you beat me to adding me, I'll try to remember to add you though. But anyway, that's it. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Hope you have a good day. And in case anyone wondering, I think Trump was behind the last time I looked. He was ahead most of the night up until about 11 o'clock, and now Biden's ahead. So, but that's kind of how I thought the election was going to go. I thought it would be Biden might win by the narrowest of margins, but I predict Trump organically. I think if the election wasn't tampered with, he just let people vote without messing with the polls, Trump wins by 5%. So I still think there's going to be some kind of thing where Biden narrowly wins, but yet they later find out that he rigged it, and they start bringing up those Project Veritas videos, and they got this whole narrative and all this theater all planned out. And I always think the Project Veritas election rigging videos are going to come up. And just all these things, man, just to create chaos. But I don't know. Either way, Trump wins, it's going to be chaos. But I kind of keep thinking, man, they got that whole narrative of Biden. Maybe Biden wins a rigged election. I kind of always thought Biden would win a rigged election, but they would make people know it was rigged. You would know it was rigged, and because they ran the worst candidate you possibly could on purpose. And like Timothy said, Kamala Harris really technically isn't even a U.S. citizen. She doesn't qualify for president, but she's definitely not even a U.S. citizen. Or I should say, she definitely doesn't qualify for president because she's not a natural-born citizen. But I mean, from what I saw, she isn't even a U.S. citizen. Not even a U.S. citizen, and she's Joe Biden's vice president. Not only that, she put black people in jail for false charges. She had evidence to get them out and wouldn't let them out. And you're running Joe Biden, who's senile. And then you're talking about making Cuomo, who had the highest death rates in the world during Corona. And I hear talk about him being his attorney general. It's like, dude, this is the worst ticket possible. And I always kind of wondered if they were going to rig it, make it look obvious they rigged it just so they could have chaos. So that's just kind of my final thought. Wow, so someone else researched it and they think so. Someone else said, that's a fact. She's an Indian hoe. Oh, Michigan, yeah. I know this one girl who does some shows. I like her. She goes by Zune Politicon, ZOON. Then it's POLIKON. She's from well, she's originally from Maine. She won as a Green Party candidate to get on the school board, but now she lives up in Michigan, and I kind of like a lot of her research she does. I don't know, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe check out her channel since you guys are you both are from Michigan. But okay, then Israel, you're saying Trump won. From what I looked at it, he hadn't won yet. I'll type that in. I'll see what the Trump Biden results. Go look at that real quick. And yeah, right now it's saying Biden's winning by about 25 electoral votes. So let's see here. There's about maybe 90 more to go, something like that. 90 something, 97 more to go. Yeah, like Joe Biden, 50%, and Donald Trump, 48. Oh, I see. So these states are where he's just leading in. Let's see here. I guess I got to bring it all the way down. Okay, so these aren't counted, but they already gave Donald Trump the victory. He's not really winning in Michigan. So Nevada and Wisconsin's kind of in question. Well, it says 100% reported. So, I mean, I guess he won. Trump won North Carolina. He pretty much won Georgia, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like he won Pennsylvania. So, I mean, he might lose Michigan. So, you got Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada that could go for Biden. I don't know, man. I mean, it looks like it's just winning those three. Is that going to be enough for Trump? I don't know what all those electoral votes are, but like if he wins these three states, is that enough to make up that difference in the electoral college? I mean, me personally, it's like I don't think there's any way. Here, I'll put that comment on the screen. Anyway, Timothy says realistic mathematical probability says Trump won until counting stopped. Then suddenly thousands of Biden votes were discovered. Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing I kind of foresee. I personally think if everything's counted honestly, Trump should win. But this is the exact scenario I was kind of predicting was like Biden having like a narrow victory and later finding out, in like I said, all this Project Veritas stuff. Like I just don't really. I don't know. I don't know the Project Veritas people. I never investigated them. So it's just for me personally. I just always kind of wonder, do they exist to help create this theater that's about ready to happen? One thing I'll leave people with, since you made it this long, has anyone heard of this guy named Larry Gators? He goes by Bishop Larry Gators. I plan on doing a video about this, but like towards the end of this one video he did on, I think it was November 3rd, towards the end of it, he says, "I am Q." And I don't know what exactly he means by that. But he says, "I am Q." And it's just really odd because he's connected with Jason Goodman, and Jason Goodman was connected with George Webb. And I don't really know what to make of Jason Goodman because he has these weird people on like True Pundit, and True Pundit said something ridiculous like Trump might have not have known that Barr was deep state. Like he makes just crazy comments that you just can't even like justify. Like, how can you do nothing but journalism? Like, I work too much. Like, I shouldn't be able to out-journal you, Like, you should know this stuff. I shouldn't be critiquing you. Not someone like True Pundit. I shouldn't critique you. You're the one who's supposed to critique me and be like, this is a detail you missed. And so it's like, it's just, so when I hear him say some things he says, almost like this is utter ridiculousness. And so Jason Goodman's got people like that, and this Larry Gators. And Larry Gators, man, he sounds really awesome to listen to at first, and he sounds so super intelligent. And I even listened to some recent video he did today where it's just him and these other two guys talking about Black Lives Matter, and I mean, man, they're just really nailing that so deep and right at the head of it, and just like the psychology and like what even makes people even think that way, and they're just like nailing these points excellent and brilliantly, like just super brilliantly. But I've heard Larry Gators, like talk good about Trump. And I'm just like, really? How do you justify? Like, I still can't get over the Kavanaugh stuff. And I almost want to believe Larry Gators just because of all this other stuff he says. And then I'm just like, is this a way of like pulling us into this like weird spiritual spin that's about ready to happen? Because the Bible does say there's this strong delusion that even if that the elect might even believe, if they weren't like saved or something. And it's like, I could see someone like that, like being able to like pull people in, because he does say a lot of things that are like 100% right and good and like right on the head, and like, I mean, actually a lot of truths that need to be spoken. But I'm just like, it just really like this whole, like, I still kind of get the feeling that Trump is put on a pedestal by him and others, or like it is elevated. Maybe I should say elevated in a way that he should not be elevated. And oh, hi Iva, hi Hope. Good morning to you too. And I'll put her comment on because she's kind of agreeing with what I said. Good morning. This is all scripted out. Trump will stay in office because he does the best controlling the sheep. That's how they decide. All the rest is a scripted show. And yes, 100%. I am like really glad you said that because yeah, I mean, see, it's like that's the whole thing. Like I got friends that should be seeing this that know all about the Jesuits, all about the New World Order. In fact, I think they speak better than me most of the time. And then it's like, in all of a sudden, I feel like they're trying to make people believe in Trump and saying this, like, and I'm like, what is this spell? You know, what is this spell? You know, it's like you're supposed to help people break this spell, not help people fall back into the spell. And I mean, that's the whole reason why I even did this show, which was only supposed to be a half hour and it's turned into an hour and a half show. But I like, it was just bothering me because all night I'm at work listening to these shows. And it's like, come on, guys, you're supposed to be like challenging this. And I even hear some people have like these other guests on their show that are kind of like, they're kind of saying the same kind of the some of the things they're saying, but they're not like challenging them enough. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to make a video when I get home because these people need to be challenged. And it's just, yeah, I mean, like, the one thing I just want people to see is that it is a script. And the reason why I think that's important is I think there's something bigger about ready to come down the pipe. And it's like, if we're telling people that, oh yeah, you know, Trump's gonna still fight the deep state, like you're under any illusion of that. Like I'll give someone a little slack if they're like, well, Chris, I voted for Trump. I know there's something bigger coming down the pipe. I know he's a horrible person, but he's saying some of the things. But he's saying these things, and maybe if we can, enough of us can get together and make and like keep calling them out, we can maybe like kind of like bind them a little bit to where and slow them down and slow down this New World Order. And it's like, and I'm like, no, it's like I don't think we're gonna be able to bind Trump down. We're not going to bind them down. I don't think there's no slowing this down. I don't think there's no slowing this down, but like but I can at least respect someone that thinks like, oh, if we keep calling them out. But I didn't try doing that the first 4 years and I was kicked out of so many Trump groups. Every time I brought up Kavanaugh or something and bringing up nothing but facts, like, hey, shouldn't we call him out? Nope, you can just get kicked out of our group. It's like, okay, thanks, man. I'm just like trying to get rid of the deep state, but okay. So I don't know. I can't even forgive people really for that. But so I'm just gonna bring up this other comment since I was talking about George Webb. Ted Gunderson had animosity towards George Webb. Choose who you deem credible between those two. Oh, I mean, I can see why someone would have animosity towards George Webb. I mean, I don't know. Like George Webb said a lot of the right things at first, man. That's why I kind of was following him, and then it just like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm still a little bit up in the air about George Webb. I just kind of think some of it was just kind of weird, and so I'm just kind of staying away from it. I really don't want to comment on it because there's some things I just can't figure out about that guy. But anyway, it's been an hour and a half. I think I'm gonna call it a day. Go to sleep. Maybe just later try and make a quick video about this subject about being disgusted. But yeah, I did. I guess my final words is just, man, I just wish people would use this election to wake people up instead of trying to and let them know this is scripted. Let them know, like, you know, they like Trump has to be the one. Trump, the only way you could have got this whole planet to lock down is because Trump's the president. That's why Trump was put in office in the first place. You know what? I actually heard. Oh man, that reminds me. I heard a friend of mine, and he said, "Well, they had this plan with Hillary. They thought Hillary was going to win, and then now it's like the plan's just a little shaken up because Trump won instead. But they still had this whole coronavirus plan about ready to go down when Hillary, you know, got nominated." I'm like, "Are you crazy?" Like, dude, like someone's got this all backwards. That's another reason why I'm like, you know, like that needs to be called out. Like, dude, the whole thing with Hillary and Trump was a show. They always planned to make Trump win versus Hillary because they always had this moment in mind. This moment, because they had to have someone who the people believed was actually for them. And when you see all these scumbags who are deep state attacking Trump, at least for the most part, who most people know is the deep state, when you see the most scummiest people, like some of the rhinos attacking Trump, like Paul Ryan and McCain, and there's a lot of Republicans that were at least barely awake enough to realize those guys aren't good and they're attacking Trump. And then you see the Democrats do it, and so it's like, oh wow, here's this poor guy getting attacked. He must be real legit. That was always their plan. They never were going to let Hillary win. They were always going to have Trump because they knew when 2020 came and they did this whole COVID-19 thing that they had scripted out, they had to have some, because if Hillary tried to lock this country down, these people would have thought that. They would have immediately thought that was like some mark of the beast stuff. If Hillary tried to lock the country down, immediately the Patriots would have probably been like, oh my gosh, this is the mark of the beast. Look, the whole world's getting locked down and she's talking about vaccines and everyone's got to be vaccinated. Trump does it. And it's like, it kind of scares people, but they're like, well, maybe Trump will get a grip on it. Maybe Trump won't really vaccinate everybody. Yeah, and that's why they had to have Trump do it, and Trump's just playing the part of it. And Timothy Price says, art of the deal and art of the war combined. Yep. 100%. I mean, I think is it like the Jesuits or something about the Jesuits are modeled on the art of war or something like that. Anyway, I can't really recall. My recall is bad anyway, especially when I'm tired. But yeah, I just could not believe when this person see, that's part of my problem too. I think when you promote Trump at all, like you're not like acknowledging that he's not fighting the deep state. Because I guess if you did that, you'd probably have a hard time promoting him on your show, or voting for him, wouldn't you? So it's like, I feel like because you kind of started slipping into that spell, you fell all the way into that spell. Because you wouldn't just sit there and use this opportunity to wake people up and show them how how the deep state's using the Republican and Democrat Party to do their will, and how the deep state has infiltrated the Republican Party so thoroughly that they're being able to present this theater and look at this theater and expose the theater to people. But no, instead of exposing the theater, you're trying to make Trump sound like he's not in on it and that people should vote for him. So you're falling into the spell and you're making other people fall into the spell. So that's why I'm very upset with some of my friends that are doing these pro-Trump videos and smiling at all as Trump's, whenever Trump wins the state, it's like, no, man, it's like you're really causing everybody to fall into the spell. It's like a spell, and you're falling into it, and you're making everybody else fall into that spell. It's just, and it's just bothering me. And to be honest, every time this friend of mine does it, it makes me sick. Like I start to feel sick, like 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 I just want to like walk away, from them. Period, man. Like I can't take it because you're just doing such a disservice to people. So, all right. So I got to add a little bit of to my rant, I guess. But yeah, it's just, man, just seeing how delusion people are, man. And they're definitely going to get blindsided. They're like, I really think, man, like, I think there's going to be several implosions: Catholic Church or money system, health system. Maybe a lot of things are going to like implode. And something's going to rise up out of it. And I really think all these people that voted for Trump and actually think he's like any kind of hope, I honestly think they're going to fall into that system. I honestly think they're going to like they're going to get deceived and fall into that spell. I really do. So anyway, that's kind of it for my show. I appreciate everyone stopping by. And I really hope everyone has a blessed day. And I'll be doing a show Friday. I'm going to try to do a show Friday and to maybe take some live calls. So anyway, thanks everybody.